Today's a pretty important episode in the 2024 Republican primary. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley jumped into the race. Now, technically, she joined yesterday when she put up this 3-minute video. And I'm going to play that video, and then I'll respond to various points in it after it's finished.
The railroad tracks divided the town by race. I was the proud daughter of Indian immigrants. Not black, not white. I was different. But my mom would always say, your job is not to focus on the differences, but the similarities. And my parents reminded me and my siblings every day how blessed we were to live in America. Some look at our past as evidence that America's founding principles are bad. They say the promise of freedom is just made up. Some think our ideas are not just wrong, but racist and evil. Nothing could be further from the truth. I have seen evil. In China, they commit genocide. In Iran, they murder their own people for challenging the government. And when a woman tells you about watching soldiers throw her baby into a fire, it puts things in perspective. Even on our worst day, we are blessed to live in America. I was born and raised in South Carolina, so I have seen the very best of our country. People here threw out the old, tired political establishment and demanded accountability for their tax dollars. Industry reports called us the beast of the Southeast, which I loved. People came by the thousands for fresh starts. Moms and dads held their heads up high. Children learned that it was always a great day in South Carolina. It's a great day.
It's a great day.
A great day. A great day in South Carolina. We were strong. We were proud. And when evil did come,
Police in South Carolina are looking for a gunman following a shooting at a church in
Several
downtown
victims.
Charleston.
We don't know the severity.
we turned away from fear, toward God, and the values that still make our country the freest and greatest in the world. We must turn in that direction again. Republicans have lost the popular vote in 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections. That has to change. Joe Biden's record is abysmal, but that shouldn't come as a surprise. The Washington establishment has failed us over and over and over again. It's time for a new generation of leadership to rediscover fiscal responsibility, secure our border, and strengthen our country, our pride, and our purpose. Some people look at America and see vulnerability. The socialist left sees an opportunity to rewrite history. China and Russia are on the march. They all think we can be bullied, kicked around. You should know this about me. I don't put up with bullies. And when you kick back, it hurts them more if you're wearing heels. I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president.
So, ironically enough, I would say the first minute or so of the video, or whatever, to me, they're not offensive. It's just her being autobiographical, which, even though I'm not a big fan of myself, because I think a lot of politicians try to make you fall in love with them through their story and their hardships and growing up and all the various tropes you've seen with these people. At least with that, there's like a little bit of reality and truth baked into their recollections of their own past. But when you're talking about the actual record that's described there, it's very much not akin to what she's basing herself in. Now, I have an article, and it's from U.S. News. And U.S. News is an important place to go to because a lot of times it'll have various data for different states. And in the video, Haley's like, we were the beast of the Southeast. We saved South Carolina. But then you look at these ratings, and it's out of 50 because there are 50 states. but South Carolina, number 34 in healthcare, number 44 in education. Now, I didn't even get to mention the opposition she had to the Medicare expansion out there, but, you know, that's another story. I'm simply saying that when you actually go through the statistics, crime and corrections number 46, it doesn't align with what she's saying. To go into some points, because I wrote some of it down just to make sure I didn't forget. She says Republicans have lost the popular vote in 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections. And every time I hear her say that, because she said it in an interview before this as well, I always laugh for 2 reasons. One, because it's something a lot of people actually probably don't know. And it's very accurate. So you look at this last one, Biden won both the popular vote and a general election. Clinton lost the general election to Trump, but she still won the popular vote. And then Obama got the popular vote and won the general election against both McCain and Romney. So the only time since 1988 where the Republicans have been able to win the popular vote in a presidential election was in 2004 with Bush against Kerry. Every other one after the older Bush in 88 when he curb stomped Dukakis like there was no tomorrow, have been Republicans winning by the skin of their teeth, or only because there's a system in place for the actual votes of the people to just not matter that much. But what's funny is that she mentions this, and it's clearly a shot at Trump. He's the only other person in the race. He's the person that she probably expects to have the most of a hard time actually defeating. And it doesn't really work because this is something that's not just a thing that is a problem with Trump, which was not getting the popular vote. He's actually one of the few where you could argue it didn't matter that much because it still won the election anyway. But it's something that is intrinsically linked with this party, which is that in presidential elections, when you ask a majority of Americans to vote for these people, these right-wing, fringe bastards are so unpopular that even if they win an election, with the exception of both of the Bushes, out of the last 8 of them, they've only been able to win because of the Electoral College. And I'm sorry, but I don't believe... I think if you put Haley up against Biden or pretty much any of the Republicans, they're not going to win the popular vote. I'm not saying they're not going to win the election, because we already know the Electoral College comes in and saves them and makes those wonderful non-democratic ways stay in effect. But it's a point she makes that is meant to like slight Trump, but it really slights the whole party overall. Because like I said, when this thing keeps happening for over 20 years, it's not just Trump or whatever the current slice of Republicans is. It's something that is intrinsically linked to that party, which is to support positions that alienate different groups and get them to support the other party. But that part was funny. It's like does she really think she's going to be the first one since 2004, so in 20 years, that's been able to get the popular vote? I don't buy it. The Washington establishment has failed us over and over again. That's another part of her video. That part was really funny because Haley is nothing but the establishment. She was governor of a state where, she did whatever. She's someone who's basically running because they can fundraise a lot and a bunch of the wealthy donors will back her run. So, and she's someone that just was in the White House as far as being like a member of the administration as the UN ambassador, not even 5 years ago. So, I really don't know how she can try and pretend like she's this outsider, non-Washington figure when she was in Washington just a couple of years ago. God. This is my favorite part. Some people look at America and see vulnerability. The socialist left sees an opportunity to rewrite history. Now, when she says this in the video, you see 4 I'm not going to say Democrats because Sanders is not one, but we're going to say 4 left-leaning, supposedly, politicians on the screen. You have Sanders, Harris, Biden, and Pelosi. And anyone who knows just a little bit about the actual positions of these people knows that probably the only one of them that you could say is actually a socialist is Sanders, and even that's been debated as far as, like, you know, being more so a social democrat. But, you know, it's like here, Pelosi is someone who is so right wing that she refused to impeach Bush when she could have, back when she was speaker the first time around, or excuse me, when she was the speaker, House, the Democratic leader in the House, but also is someone who couldn't even remember the Green New Deal's name, who the single greatest legislative accomplishment of hers is passing a right-wing healthcare plan, which was Obamacare, the ACA, which was written by the Heritage Foundation. So, I mean, you look at her, right, and then you go to Biden, and he's someone who opposed single-payer, eventually came around to giving a little bit of free college, but still not that much compared to what people actually wanted, which was to just forgive the whole ridiculous system. A person who voted for the Iraq War. I mean, I don't know where any individual who knows anything about these people could remotely say that they're socialist. Really, the only thing that made Biden and Pelosi different from a lot of Republicans was that they're more left-leaning on a couple of, like, social issues, like, you know, support Roe v. Wade and, you know, up for a little bit of gun control. Not a whole lot, but, you know, some. And it's just, it's weird to me that they would take people like that and, you know, she would prop them up as being socialist. So I say that term doesn't even mean anything anymore. It just gets thrown around as part of this Red Scare fear tactic by these politicians. And when she says rewrite history, she doesn't even explain, what are they trying to rewrite? What are they trying to alter or make different from the way it was before? Now, originally, because I wasn't going to do this video yesterday, since that was when her YouTube channel dropped the announcement video, I wanted to take her campaign announcement speech and cut out some pieces of it and stick it in here, but I can't find a YouTube downloader that will allow me to download it. And I think the reason for that is because she plays Eye of the Tiger at the start of the ceremony, and they have, like, a thing about copyright. But I'm going to read an article that's about the speech, and then I'll wrap up my statements here. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley criticized what she said was a self-loathing taking over the U.S. and dismissed accusations that the country is racist during her campaign launch Wednesday in Charleston, South Carolina. A self-loathing has swept our country. It's in the classroom, the boardroom, and the back rooms of government, Haley said, speaking to supporters. Every day, we're told America is flawed, rotten, and full of hate. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris even say America is racist. Nothing could be further from the truth. The remarks show how Haley is wading into culture war issues as part of her campaign in her launch video released on Tuesday. Haley's campaign showed a montage of photos, including one from the 1619 Project and a sign reading Racism in the Pandemic. Some look at our past as evidence that America's founding principles are bad. They say the promise of freedom is just made up, Haley said in the video. Some think our ideas are not just wrong, but racist and evil. Nothing could be further from the truth. So, I'm going to say something. When I did my last 2 videos on Haley, I said that one of the ways in which she would be a better candidate for Republicans to nominate and actually have a chance of winning against Biden is that a lot of that culture war crap she wasn't a part of, like the anti-COVID stuff, for example. But these remarks are so frustrating because it's like she has these advisors, or maybe it's her instinct, I don't know, that says I have to sound like the people who are leading right now. I have to peddle what they say so I can have a chance of, I guess, acquiring their support. Now, where she says Biden and Harris even say America is racist, nothing could be further from the truth. Well, I think having people in slavery is racist. I think the Trail of Tears, where you had a U.S. president Jackson remove the Indians from and have them travel somewhere that he knew they would pass away in, is fairly racist as well. And I mean, I guess it's like this. My biggest problem here is that she's trying to conflate the criticisms of either the past of the U.S. or certain current things about the U.S. as like being this hatred, despising rhetoric. Because a lot of people that will say critical things of America like it. So it's so unfortunate that she decided to lean into this idea. Like if you criticize any discriminatory practices by America, either in the past or present, you're trying to you hate the country and you want to sow division. It's like we're just calling a spade a spade. When she says nothing could be further from the truth, I'd love to know what is false about mentioning the U.S. started with slavery. What's false about mentioning Jim Crow? Like what are we somehow stating that's incorrect by mentioning various discriminatory things of the past and sometimes in the present? I'd love to be made aware of what type of incorrect statements are being made on the part of people that mention what we as the U.S. have done to others throughout our history. But we won't get an answer. Now, just to wrap this up, I really thought that she was going to try to get in the race and she was going to try to sound like this moderate person who, again, is like not pro, virus denying and is trying to like actually sound a little bit like a moderate, because all that stuff about socialism and the culture war and all the rest of this dumb crap, it might sound cute in a Republican primary, and I still don't think it's going to help her actually get Trump's voters. But when you're talking about a general election where you want to tell people that they're lying if they think that the past of America shows its discriminatory practices towards other groups of people, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to register with independent voters. And in her video, she says that Biden's policies are abysmal, doesn't explain what specific ones they are. And like I said, her state has actual abysmal records, which I would say probably aren't just her fault. They've probably been that way for a while, but she's trying to make herself sound like this savior. But really, I'm just kind of disappointed in the launch a little bit, because I thought we would start seeing some more policy-based stuff, and we got a little bit of that during the actual campaign speech. She talked about wanting to put test on politicians over 75 to show that they're still all there, which is obviously a shot at Biden. But I kind of feel that, even as someone who's nowhere near that age, it still is kind of offensive to me in the sense that you're trying to basically say that automatically if someone gets to be in their 70s, they're like losing their mind. And my thing is, people always talk about like self-responsibility, but wouldn't the voters have to make the decision if someone is competent enough to be elected to an office? Because you can be incompetent and still get elected. I mean, hey, look at the current roster of Republicans we have, for example. But yeah, it's interesting that she leans into the culture war stuff and identity politics in this way where it's like you shouldn't mention the past of America when you're trying to talk about like certain injustices that were done against minority groups. But let me mention that I'm a minority and I'm from my parents came from this country and my gender over and over again. These people are really incredible. And all that stuff, unfortunately, is just another way to trick people into thinking they're actually seeing something different. We covered this before. She was asked by Sean Hannity, what policies do you disagree with Trump on? Couldn't give a single difference that they had. Because there is none. It's just, people said this before for other politicians, especially Obama, change on the outside, continuity on the inside. So if you end up with her as president, which we won't because she's not going to win this primary, but you're not going to see some actual significant substantial change. It's all going to be the same right wing crap, the supposed lower tax cuts for the rich, and of course some warmongering because we have to have that, even though both parties do at this point. And really, it's such a shame because if I were her, I would lean into trying to have differences with the front runner. Like, everybody knows Trump. So talk about actual positions you have that are different from his, but she won't do that because she doesn't have any. That's why she has to mention her gender and give you this anecdotal story about her past. And it's sad, man, because I don't take joy in being like, this person has no chance of winning. This person is going to get creamed. But they do it to themselves. They choose to run in these races and have nothing to offer as far as like an actual difference that will appeal to voters. So she'll get some, never Trump votes, 2-3%. But I don't see her overturning DeSantis, and I definitely don't see her overturning Trump. And I think both of those, if she actually campaigned in a decent way that specified her differences and focused on legitimate issues, would be possible. But it's something that she's not interested in doing. We're just going to hear about socialism and these people hate America and all the rest of it. And it's funny, I didn't even get to mention this, but she showed the Dylan Roof, what's that him? The 2015 church shooting. And it's funny because it's like all the Republicans talk about these Democrats and these liberals politicize mass shootings for their anti-gun agenda. I'm like, well, hell, she's politicizing this shooting that happened while she was governor, a very prominent one. I remember it distinctively well. For the sake of propping herself up. When evil came to my state, I stood up. It's like you could make the same argument of her, that she's doing the exact same thing, just in the reverse direction, where not to campaign for a law to be changed or actually do something about this issue. Because like I said, U.S. has 4% of people, almost half the guns are in this country, though. Instead of actually using it to forward preventing it from happening, you're just going to go, well, I'm running for president and people need to see my leadership and I don't really have specific positions. Because if you notice in the video, she doesn't actually show where she did something in response to, like, as far as like a law or some kind of, some legislative act that she put in place. Because there was nothing. It was just thoughts and prayers, flapping some gums, and then more people got killed, in that state and all the other ones across America. So yeah, she's going to probably max out at like 10%, and then we'll just be stuck with Trump and DeSantis, and probably some other people will get in and they'll, suffer similar fates.